Hi guys, I hope you're enjoying the 30-day happiness experience. I know that you're expanding and you're learning so many beautiful tips and techniques. Today with me, I have Cristin Zeagers, and I want to share with you a little bit about what Cristin's passion is. Cristin is a life coach devoted to your success as you define it. She shines a light on your path, helping you to see the blocks to your greatness. Mindset, limiting beliefs, expired dreams. She acts as a change catalyst. When you are ready to live more boldly, more authentically, and welcome more ease, peace, and beauty into your life, she'll be your partner to get you there with inspired flow and fierce intention. Welcome, Cristin.
Thank you, Stacy.
Cristin is at her friend's beautiful beach house, and I hear her wind chimes in the background, which I love wind chimes. My mom has like 5 wind chimes on her front porch, and sometimes when I go out there, I just sit there, and I love wind chimes. I have one, but we haven't put it up on our house yet.
That's one of my favorite housewarming gifts. So you should definitely hang it up. It's great for a new home.
Okay. And where we live, there's like some ferocious winds, so I think that we were kind of worried about it being. But it's one of those really nice, like the nice ones with the real steel, and it's supposed to be like the weathered one that can go out. So Cristin is her background is in feng shui, so she knows all about energy and creating beautiful things in your home and what to bring in and what to take out. So today we're going to talk about how we can create more harmony in our space. But as I ask everybody in this beginning session, I want to know, what do you believe happiness is?
I believe happiness is a state of being. It's a vivid awareness of all of the beautiful blessings in your life at any given time. I was just actually reflecting on this the other day, how it's possible to be sad and happy at the same time. And I think that's because of that sense that happiness is deep within and isn't necessarily affected by the dramas and the emergencies and the things that happen right before your eyes. It's a state of inner joy and contentment.
As we are going through this 30 days, we are really bringing it back to that inner place. And I think so many times in our society and in the world, the view is that we have to have X, Y, and Z obtained before we can be happy. I have to have the 6-figure income to be happy, or I have to have the perfect relationship. But as you will experience through these 30 days, every coach says the same thing in a different way, that it's going within, and that it's in that moment connecting and being happy where you are and seeing what's around you that's actually supporting you. Because so many times we're just focused on the lack or the negative. We just are able to flip that perception just a little bit and say, my life is actually going pretty good. And there are some things that I can be happy about, and kind of focusing on that. So I love that. And that's where the answer is. The answer lies within. Happiness is within.
Absolutely. I love that is a thread that comes through all of these interviews. That's great.
For sure. Yes. And every person has their own take on it, but it is the same message that when you connect in this now moment and you can find something to be joyful for without having that external thing, then you're starting to feel happy. So you literally, I'm going to give everybody the secret. I'm going to share it right now. So when we're chasing happiness, we're constantly looking for it, and it's constantly outside of ourselves. We are following that carrot, and it's always a step ahead of us. But the moment that we realize it's right now, in this moment, that you choose to be happy and to focus on something that could be the smallest thing. You just say, okay, I hear what Stacy's saying. I hear what Cristin's saying. Let me see. What do I have to be happy about? And then you focus on that one thing and you allow that feeling to grow within you. And then you realize that it is always a choice in every single moment. And then you get to choose. And then it's no longer an external factor.
Mm. Definitely.
So I really want to dig into Cristin's knowledge on feng shui and how things affect us in our outer world. So I want to talk about clutter because clutter tends to be in my environment. And I think people can relate to this, whether you're like a major clutter person or you just have like a couple, closets or something that are cluttered.
Yeah. Well, if we circle right back to what you were just saying about finding happiness outside of ourselves by needing to acquire or attain things outside of us, that ends up manifesting as physical clutter in our home. We're out shopping and we see the sparkly thing and we want to get it, or we hold on to things and we're afraid to let it go because, we might need it someday. And that kind of deep sense of lack and not enoughness. And that creates like this epidemic that we have of being buried in our stuff, and, I'm not saying that we all have to go live as minimalists. I certainly don't. But it's about having an intention and a connection to your belongings. And so when you have piles of papers or when you have junk drawers or closets or under your bed or in your nightstand drawer and all of that contains things that you haven't given any attention to, that you don't even know is there, it's frustrating to you every time you come across it, that like you can just saying those words helps you start to see how it affects your body and how it has an effect on you personally. There's Amelia.
You say hi. Amelia's with me today, so she's going to just be a part of our interview.
All right. Hey, sweet girl.
I so relate to this because I definitely have the piles of paper and I move them from point A to point B and I never really actually deal with them. It's like I just gather them up in one big pile and I'm like, I actually feel anxiety around paper because I don't know why. And I've tried to like look into why I feel this anxiety, and maybe you guys connect to feeling anxiety around clutter. Maybe it's clothes. Maybe it's like Cristin said, old things that you just can't get rid of because you're attached to it in some way. But and I'm looking at my office, every time I go to deal with paper, I just start feeling anxiety because I don't know what to do and how to deal with it.
Mm. Well, it definitely does. And it hangs around. Like even if you were to take that pile of paper and stuff it in a drawer, you would still know it was there. So what we say is you can't hide anything in feng shui. Like, you can't close the door and pretend it's not there. Because it does, it manifests it within your body. And if you think about tension in your muscles, like your shoulders clench and it has a physical effect on you. Your mind gets clouded because what clutter does in your home is it blocks energy flow. And that's what we always really want, is a nice, smooth flow of energy throughout our living spaces. And that helps to cultivate a nice energy flow. That's life, baby.
There goes the flower. Can mommy have a flower? Don't pull that over. Okay. This is real. This is real life for me. This is how you build a business with a child.
Absolutely.
Everybody else has children, and they are like very accepting of the fact that you have a child. Anyway,
it's 100% relatable.
So, you were talking about the flow in our space and clutter. Right. And those of you that have done this practice before, when you clean out a closet or get rid of things, you actually feel lighter. You feel like, okay, phew, it looks organized, or I got rid of some things. So I want to go back to the original question, and I understand where you're going with. If we're feeling a void, we're gonna find something to fill it with, and that could be stuff.
Yeah.
So in the opposite sense, because what I'm asking, I know other people are saying like, oh, should we not buy anything? So should we buy when we're in a state of fulfillment and happiness? How do we differentiate, like, I'm buying because I feel like I need something, or I'm buying this thing because I love it?
That's being connected to your inner happiness. To look at something, to have belongings in your home, they should be comfortable, useful, and beautiful. And we assign energy to different items based on our history with them and our memories and things like that. So if you look at antiques and things like that, that holds the energy of the people that have owned it. So if you have, like I have my grandmother's piano, and that has a lot of sentimental value to me. It might not be totally beautiful. We do play it, so it's useful and it has a purpose, but it also holds all these beautiful memories. So when I look at it, it raises my vibration. It helps me remember my grandmother, and I can feel the lineage behind that. In turn, you might look at something, and I bet you everyone watching this video, if you went and sat in like your favorite chair in your family room and looked around, you would probably find at least one thing that you had no idea was even there, hanging on the wall or on the bookshelf, a tchotchke or something. And you're like, I totally forgot that I even owned that. But here it is, holding up space in my home. What does it mean to me? And maybe it was something that an ex-boyfriend gave you, and you're like, I don't need that energy hanging around. Or maybe it's something you picked up, impulsively, as you were checking out at a store, and it doesn't have any meaning to you. So it's a way to look at our belongings and make sure that they're connected to that piece inside of us that makes us happy.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, I have so many questions firing while you're talking. So the question that came up was, what do we do when someone gives us something and we kind of feel obligated to keep it because we don't want to hurt that person's feelings, but we're not necessarily in love with this item?
Well, you can assign the memories and the sentiment behind it to that item, and you might feel really good about keeping it. You might say, I don't think it's particularly beautiful, but I love that this person picked it out specifically for me and was thinking of me at this time, and that might raise your energetic vibration, and you might decide to keep it along. Or you might say, you know what, the sentiment is really beautiful, and I'm going to hold on to that feeling, and I'm not going to attach it to this item, and I can let the item go on to somebody who might really appreciate the item itself. It's tricky. Like when you think about that just made me think about the people that I've worked with who are maybe empty nesters and they're downsizing. Such a hard thing to go through because everything holds memories that you're trying to hold on to. So it's a real exercise in detachment.
I know this is speaking to somebody listening because I know there's people that are like, oh, this person has given me this thing and I really don't want it in my space, but I'm attached to the guilt of letting it go. So I hope this helps in some way.
Yeah, if you think about that, like you're committing to staying attached to guilt for fear of possibly hurting someone's feelings.
Yeah. To an item. Attached to an item. Yeah. I really want to go back to try to connect how we create, and I'm sorry guys, she's in here playing, and at least I can have a visual on her, and she's not climbing up the bookshelf. I want to figure out how we can come back around how clutter in our lives is creating how that inner connection works. So why are we creating the clutter?
So
It's a broad question.
our environments are a reflection. Our outer environments are a reflection of our inner environments, and vice versa. So there's a dance that happens between the two. You can think of places in your life that you've been where the energy is so heavy or dank that you can't wait to get out of that space. A lot of times it's like institutional buildings or doctor's offices or lawyers' offices or something like that. That's just really low vibe. And then in turn, we can all think, like this beautiful beach house I'm staying at, environments you surround yourself with that you want to keep coming back to, that like make you feel wonderful and you want to hang out all day. That's an example of how our environment can affect us personally, our internal space. And so when we're trying to improve our lives and we're focusing on personal growth and development, and we're tapping into a spiritual practice, or we're turning in and trying to find out what that happiness really means for us, it's an opportunity to make sure that our environment is supporting those intentions. So we can then look at the outside and say, how can I arrange my space to support these changes that I'm wanting to make, and make sure that they don't pull me back into old habits and old patterns. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I think that's where working with a life coach, especially you, someone who's used to doing the inner and outer game, you help people break those patterns of habit. What I've noticed is when I have gone through my own transformation, when I've been doing some deep work and deep healing work and letting go of old belief systems, I immediately want to clean. Like that day or the next day. I want to clean. I want to get rid of stuff. I'm energized. I'm letting go of that old negative belief systems, the old energy that's hanging around. And like you said, the opposite is true. When and it's probably all just one big circle. And then when I clean, then I feel lighter because I'm letting stuff go. So it's definitely, I see.
You're creating space.
Yeah.
And that's like, I love when I reorganize a drawer or a closet. Like I want to keep going back and seeing it because it's calming to your nervous system, because what was all clumped up before, it was all stagnant. It was internal clutter, right? You let it out and you're physically working with your space. So that's a good way, to change your physiology, to clear that stuff out, and you're intentionally sending off some of these belongings for somebody who's really going to find great value in them. That's a generous act. It creates space inside of you, and it's in that space is where your creative genius comes through. It's where you hear the little messages of your intuition or your highest self. And when we keep filling up space because we're uncomfortable with it, we are squashing our ability to hear those messages and to get that creative inspiration. Stillness is a hard thing, and space is a hard thing for people to sit with. It's a cultural thing where we feel like it has to be filled.
Yes. Yeah, I can relate to that. Yep. I totally relate to that. I totally relate to having things just fill up. You have to fill the closets up and the drawers, and it's like that vacuum. Like I noticed I would clean out a drawer, and then like with 3 weeks time, it was like filled up again. I'm like, seriously? Like I just did this.
Right. And it's unconscious, right? So it's awareness is the see, well, I've got dogs going crazy here now. I don't know if you can hear them. Awareness is the very first step. Without awareness, you can't make change. So once you start, and change isn't easy. So once you start to become aware, then that's the only place from which you can make change. So yeah, it's funny. And it's also really cool to take note of where those places are in your home that seem to continually get cluttered that you can't keep clear. There's a map called the Bagua map that we use in Feng Shui that shows you where different life energies lie within your house. And so, you know, maybe it's in your health area that clutter, you just can't seem to avoid it. And you also notice that you have like a chronic head cold, like congestion. Like that's sometimes how clutter can manifest in your body. Things like congestion or constipation or something like that, or just muscle tension, you know? It's an interesting thing to play with and see how your inner world is manifesting in your outer world, even when you're not conscious of it.
You and I had talked about this, that there was certain rooms that I am adamant about cleaning that has to stay clean, and that's my daughter's room. And I looked it up and now I forgot what it was, but I'm specifically like making sure her room is picked up and organized. And then there's other rooms that are constantly like attracting and just keep attracting the clutter. So I definitely think that's really interesting to look at and see where that relates in your life. So if you look at the Bagua map, as Cristin's saying, and you say like, oh, okay, I see relationships and it's over here and it's in the same area of my house where it's always piled up junk and stuff, then you can start to look at it. What is that? That would be dirt. Okay, you're good.
There's going to be a place on my website too. I'll add this on there soon in the Feng Shui area of my website where you can get a copy of the Bagua, and I've done a video on how to use it. So
that's amazing.
People can check that out.
Awesome. Yeah, I've looked at it and I understand it to a certain degree. Bring it to mommy. She's got my flower. Bring it to mommy. I don't want you to spill it. Come here. Can you show everybody my flower? Come on. Show them the flower. Okay. Can you hold it up there? Show them the flower. My mom gave me this for Mother's Day, and she should know that I need cactus. Not many things that like need a lot of attention. But I think she said this is like a succulent, and it doesn't need a lot of water. So
no, it doesn't.
Okay, maybe she did. What I wanted to when you were talking, what it reminded me of was when I go on Pinterest and I see all these beautiful organized spaces, closets, you open it up and it's like all the containers are lined up and it just feels so beautiful to look at, so organized. For Mother's Day, we went to a beach town where we live, and we'd not been there in a really long time. And we took the day, my mom, my sister, my daughter, and I, and we walked around and we went into this candy store. It was the most beautiful candy store I've ever been in visually, because they had the apothecary, everything was in the apothecary glass jars, all lined up, all color coded, like from like floor to ceiling. It was just visually beautiful, and I wanted to be in the space. I actually was like thinking about like I want to go back and buy more candy just because it's so beautiful. So that feeling in your home, having that feeling of wanting to be in that space, wanting to like be there, is what you want to create. Is that? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I find that it's a really great way to get me out of overwhelm. Or when I'm really trying to connect with what it is that I want my life to look and feel like, I look at my space and I cultivate it. I curate it, if you will, making sure that I'm surrounded by things that lift my spirit or that represent what I want more of in my life. You know, whether it's peace or whether it's vibrancy and color, you know, comfort or simplicity, to think about what it is that you want and then create that environment, almost like fake it till you make it, like design your house as if that's the way your life was. And I'm not talking about going out and buying all new things, but again, it's a way to really be aware of what you already have and place it with intention.
Awesome. So do you have any tips or techniques for us to create like this Zen space? I know you're saying like fake it till you make it, but is there any specific thing that we should be doing to like make this space feel the way we want to feel?
I would say have a relationship with your home. So if you can, for the next week, maybe pick a different room every day that you take your morning coffee in or your afternoon tea or whatever, and walk around that space and kind of treat it like a friend, like have a conversation with your room, and ask it how it's feeling. Walk around, and where your eye goes is where energy flows. So just notice where your eye goes. If your eye goes straight to a big basket of clutter, then tend to that, clear it out, and kind of repeat in your head that you're doing this with the intention of creating freedom and space within you, and that you are grateful for everything that you have, and for the things that you're giving away, you hope that they find a home with people that can really value them. It's connecting with your belongings and with your space. And while you're doing that, you're infusing your energy into that space. Just like my grandmother's piano that holds her energy, that's what we're doing when we go and we sit with intention and attention to our belongings and to just our physical space.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And I love the reframe of thinking about, because I think sometimes we get so attached to our items that we're not thinking about this item is going to be moved on and someone else is going to collect it and they're going to get joy from it. So having that reframe is kind of like, oh, okay, I can let this go with ease because I know that somebody is going to actually enjoy this.
Yeah. Otherwise you're keeping it trapped, from its full potential. I mean, it sounds a little, but it's true. Everything is energy. And so even our belongings are energy. And if you are holding on to something because of guilt or because of obligation, or because you're uncomfortable with having an empty space on the wall, it's time to let it go.
So is there anything else you would like to share around just creating a more harmonious environment and using feng shui? Like some people might really be into feng shui that's watching this, or some people might don't even really know what feng shui is. So for the beginners going into feng shui, creating a more harmonious space.
I think the very first thing to consider for anyone is the front door of your home. I think that's a good place to start because the front door in feng shui, they refer to it as the mouth of qi. So that's where energy, the qi is life force energy, and that's where it enters your home. In the United States, a lot of times we mostly enter the home through like garage doors or kitchen doors or back doors or something like that. But the front door energetically of your home is very important and should be used at least once every day. So even if it's to let the dogs out or to go check the mail or something like that, make sure you're using your front door. Make sure that the path leading to your front door is safe and clear. Like there's no oh no,
a couch in front of your front door right now. Because we're painting. You're talking and I'm like, oh my God, it's so blocked. Yeah, we're painting and we have a sectional, so we had to open the sectional up so my husband could paint the ceiling and have room, and it's right in front of our front door. So when he gets home tonight, I'm going to be like, you have to move this because Cristin said our chi is blocked.
Well, as long as it doesn't stay there. I mean, life happens. Yeah. So yes, make sure that tend to it. Make sure the windows are clean at the front door. Make sure the doorbell works. Get a nice new clean welcome mat. If everybody looked at the welcome mat at their front door, and if it didn't bring you joy and make you feel good, it's time to get rid of it. That's a great place to start because it's the first impression that other people get, and it's also when you walk into that space, it's your house greeting you and holding you in the intention of how you want to feel in your home. So just be aware of that and create that space so that it does welcome you home.
Beautiful. And like you were saying, a lot of times in the United States, people come through the garage. That's how we enter. And we have like the, the boot rack thing that has all the shoes piled up. And I keep looking at it going like, oh my goodness, there is so many shoes here. Like this is just so cluttered and I've got to do something about this. So by you saying that, I know that I'm feeling like I'm walking into my space and it's just cluttered from the front or from the door that I walk into. So beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cristin, I love this. I could pick your brain all day long because it's like I just keep getting all these like questions and I just love it. So I
do too.
Yes, this is your passion. I know that you have a free offer that's going to be posted with the link on your email. And if anybody wants to find any more information out about Cristin, the link will be posted there. If you're really excited to work with her, you can find more information about her website on the link provided. Thank you, Cristin, for your time, and I really loved it.
Thank you, Stacy. I did too. And Amelia.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, oh my God, please don't pull my light down. Please. Oh, good Lord. I'm like, oh, but we did fine. We didn't break anything, so we're good.
Success.
Success. And that is truly a reflection of what we were talking about, how I could get really upset because I'm doing this interview and I want it to be professional and it's not going the way that I thought it would go, and my child is like doing all these things. Or in the moment I could just choose to be like okay with it because this is a part of the process and she's here. And because I stayed in that state, it wasn't a big deal and I'm not upset, and we just continued and it was a beautiful conversation. So I think that was the universe giving us a really good representation, there it goes, of how in the moment you get to choose how you feel and
absolutely
allow that to define you or not.
Beautiful. I love it.
All right, guys, have a beautiful day and we'll catch up with you tomorrow.
Thanks, Stacy.
Bye.